record on this machine. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the recording. And because yesterday, for some reason, the other half of the lecture got missed recording. And also, I believe a lot of you are not here today. So I will just go over the second half of yesterday's material. Okay. No, I cannot do that. You cannot. Hold on, let me go back to my here. And there I need to share my screen, okay. Share screen. Okay, so yesterday we discussed the second note. Hold on, let me find my pen. We discussed, we already finished the second node. And I watched the video, I finished discussing about a function, and you can also pass Python list as functions parameter. But remember, in Python, the parameter is passed by reference. So list anyway is mutable, is it? So you can add or you can remove items from the list. So that's what this function does. It's just to try to change a list, is it? And we did verify it, is it? So you add another 6, is it, to A, and A did change. And also B also changed. It's because basically A and B point to the same list, is it? So we know that because B is a reference to A, so both reference to the same list. Okay, so we know that. And yesterday, I remember in class, we also discussed this function is iterable, is it? And the first function is it function, okay. And this it, I have another small example to explicitly explain this, how do we use it, okay. So this is for iteration. And over here, what we show is, so here you have a list. Of course, you can also loop through a list, is it? But sometimes we may need some iterator object and try to get next, something like this. Then in this case, what we can do here is, so this iter function, and then you pass in some collection, is it? So over here it's a list, is it? And what it returns the iterator object. Okay, and if you recall, like in Java, if you learn Java also has iterator, so it's something similar. Okay, so it will return an iterator object. So an iterator object will start, is it? It will start at the first one, is it? So if you want to get one by one in this list of the item, then you can call the next function, okay, to get each one of it. So over here it shows, is it? And you can use it and the next to loop through the items and get each individual one. And the next concept, I first needed to clear. I want to reinforce is about the try. and except block. Okay, and in other language, we also a lot of times see it's a try catch. Is it a try catch block? So over here in Python, it's similar concepts called try except. Okay, try except. And so over here we have defined functions. We will come back later. But anyway, in this try block, what we do is we call that a function. This so get numbers. This is a function. And this function going to return two values, okay? And so you are going to assign this function to the two variables, is it n1 and n2? And then if we take a look at this function, so what this function does is get a number from keyboard, is it? And get a second number from the keyboard. And we also explained yesterday, is it the input get whatever from the keyboard, but it's a string, input return string. So here we need to do convert. Is it to convert string to int? So that's why over here we call int, is that we convert, and then we assign both of them to number 1 and number 2. And here, because we want to do division, is it? Oh, I forgot to do the division. So because we want to do division and we don't want the second number to be 0, the divisor should not be 0, is it? So over here I said, okay, if the divisor is 0, then, and over here in Python is, so something related with exceptions, try except block is over in Python, we call it raise block. Is it? And in other languages, it's called try catch and throw. Is it? And over here in Python, it's called raise. It's a similar concept. So if it says this, then this function won't continue, is it? So it will just raise this exception. So this is a type of exception to raise. It's very general one, is it? And this is a message for this exception. Okay, and because this function can raise exceptions, so that's why over here. So if your function, within a function, if it raises some exception, then when you write statements with the function, you need to put it in the try except block, is it? So over here, I put it in the try except block. So in this case, if your number 2 is 0, is it? Then it won't continue as it finishes at the execution of the function. So it will, the exception will be caught by this except block. Okay, so that's what happens here. And if there is no error, there's no exception, then it will go to else. So this is a general idea about this try except block. And we can try to run this part to take a look. So in Jupyter Notebook, what we can run is we can run this single cell, is it? So I can just click that, is it? Why it's not gone? Okay, so I just click this. No, let's come back here. So I just click this run this cell, is it? Oh, this is because it's so in Notebook we also needed to pay attention. Here is because I already run it and I didn't enter something, so it's got messed up. So let's try do something else. So run all above, and then it still won't. I think I messed up something here. Something. Hold on, let me just stop sharing. And I will see. Sharing again. Okay, let's go back here. Let me go back to that function. Okay, this function, why it won't work? I'm not sure what's going on here. So I will figure out later after class, okay. And so that's a general idea about this get numbers method. So let's go back here. I think all of my code, did I? Okay, yeah, let's go back here. And so we just explained this try except block. And so this is iterable method. So it will do that. So what over here is it returns the iterator object, is it? And so if it is iterable, so it's going to return true. And if there is any error, so if it's not an iterable object, so it will report what type of the error is. Okay. So then it will check if X and A. So X, I remember, is a string. So string definitely is iterable. So this will return true. And A, it's a list. So it's also iterable. So it will also return true. So over here, what this part try to show us is to show how to use the try except and also the iterator object. And what the next part show is how do we check if like over here, the X is a variable, is it? And it pointed to a string, is it? So if it is an instance of some class, is it list? And so if you want to do that kind of check, then you can use this function called isInstance, okay, to check that. And also in Python, if you want to have a composite condition, you can use AND. Okay, so this is also different from other programming languages, so just be careful. And if you wanted to negate, you use not, okay. And so this part is for the compound condition. And then let's move on to the next part. What the next part? Okay, the next part show us is, so in Python, if you want to do so this equal, is it? So for this part, compare the contents. The contents, okay. And if you want to check if, like in this case, is it? And over here, A is some object, is it? We already said, like in Python, because previously A is already assigned to a list, is it? And the list is an object, Python object. So B, then you said assign to B, A assigned to B, is it? So both A and B, they point to same object. Is that same one? So basically both A and B reference the same reference. Same reference. So this is, the is used to check if it is the same reference. Okay, and equal, it's not used for check the reference, it's just A and B have the same contents. Okay, then in this case, if you have A, like 1, 2, 3, is it? And then you have B, like you can do list. And then you can have like a tuple 1, 2, 3 initialize. Then even though both A and B have exact same contents, is it? So, but A and B doesn't refer to the same reference, is it? Then in this case, A is not, so if you check A is B, that will return false. Okay, so that's a difference regarding this to a reference check or the contents check. And what is the next one going to show us? This R. So if you have R following some quotation, is it? So this means raw string. Okay, so whatever inside the string will be considered as part of the string. Okay, part of the string. So it's not some escape. Okay, so this is the raw string. And I will move on to the next note. I think I need first to stop sharing and get to the next note up 3. And then let's take a look 3. Okay. And in note 3, there are quite a number of information we need to cover, okay, and quite important. And the first one is we already learned the list, is it? And the list can be used to store a number of items. So for list, list is square brackets, is it? And then use comma, is it? So that's list. And the list, remember, it's mutable. Okay, that's why we have the append function. Then we also have expand function, is it? And plus some other function for list, is it? And let's see another data structure in Python can be used to store a number of items. It's called a tuple. Okay, and the difference is, so tuple, if you want to provide a number of items for a tuple, then it's parentheses. Okay, and then separated by comma, like over here. And the tuple, be careful, the difference between tuple and list is it's immutable. So it doesn't have append or expand, okay, or remove. So once you define it, you cannot change it. Okay, so that's a tuple. And what is the next part show? And for this indexing is just square brackets. Okay, so if you get a specific item from a list or from a tuple, you use indexing like I and some integer number, etc., and start from 0 to the length -1 generally, etc. Okay, so that's called indexing, get a specific item. And so over here, this T1 sub 0, is it, to get what? Get 100, is it? And the second one, T1, we see colon, is it, then 2. Okay, and within the square brackets, we have the colon, and following that, you have a number, is it? And in this case, this is called slicing. And the slicing is to get a number of items. A number of items. Okay, and between the code, so generally its syntax is you have starting index, and then you have ending index, and another colon again, it's step. Okay, but over here we skip, and if you skip, by default it's 1. Okay, and ending index It's excluded, be careful. So over here, it's up to the third, but not include. So what you will get is 100, 200. Okay, and because over here it didn't specify the starting index, so by default start at 0. And by default, it's all the way to the end, etc. And it's -1. Yeah, we can also use a negative index. So that's indexing. Okay, so you can use index to get one item. You can use slicing to get more than one item. And for tuple, you can also do this kind of thing. We call it unpacking. Unpacking. Okay, so the right side is the tuple, is it? On the left side is multiple variables, is it? And if you do this, then each variable will get the corresponding value from the tuple. Okay. And because of this, then in Python, it also allow you to do swapping directly. Is it just in one statement? And in other language, you cannot do this. Is it? And what next to try to show is when you do unpacking, you can also use the single star, okay, single asterisk. Then the single asterisk, then in this case, is it? So A will get 100, is it? And B will get 200, is it? And whatever left, so C will be 300, 500, and 600, all of the left, is it? So that's what the star C refer to. It will refer all the remaining items. Okay, and if you do something like this, you can also put like the star variable in the middle, is it? Then the first one, the last one will get the specific one, and whatever left will go to the middle. Okay, so this is regarding the unpacking. And what the next two statement try to show is we can also convert, is it? So over here, T2 is a tuple, is it? And if you want to convert it to a list, then you just call list, is it? So basically over here, you call list as constructor. Constructor, is it? And the constructor, the purpose is to create a new object. So over here, this concept is the same as other language, okay? And the same thing, you can also convert a list to a tuple, okay? And if you want to do that, then you can just do something like this to do the conversion. And let's see, next. Okay, over here we show again for the slicing, is it? So slicing and indexing used quite a lot. Okay, so let's just try to get for, because even later on, when we do the data scraping, a lot of time we also need to use this concept. So try to get this clear. And T is a tuple over here, is it? And the tuple has a number of strings, is it? And then over here, what it shows, it said T1, then colon, then 2, is it? And we said the first one starting index. So it starts at here, bar. The second item, is it? And it didn't specify the ending. Then it's all the way to the end. Is it all the way to the end? And the step, so here it's not by default 1, so it's 2. So it's every 2. So it will get the next one, so it's the quarks. And the next one, so it will skip one of it. So because over here, the step is every 2, so it will get item every 2. So that's why it will have the catch. So that's why over here you have this 3 string get returned. So this is a slicing. And the last class I also said, so in other language, you cannot use negative index, is it? But in Python, you can do it. Okay, so the negative index over here, is it? It just means you count from back to the front. Okay, so over here it's count from back. Is it? That's why the result will show, you see, from the last one, second last, third last. Is it? So it's reverse order kind of. Okay, so that's negative index's purpose. And then next, let's see. What the next one shows is shows the list. Okay, number of usages for list. Once I do annotation, I cannot control my screen. Okay, so over here we have the list. So this is the list, is it? And also like last class, I said in Python, Python is very flexible, is it? That's because it's not a typed language, is it? And so over here, you can see within the list, not like other languages, if you use a list, all the data type should be the same data type, is it? But over here, it's heterogeneous data type. Is it? So the first one is integer. Is it? Second one is string. Third one is a list. So within this list has 3 different type of objects. Is it? So this allowed. So anyway, this right side, it's a list. So a list object. Is it? So X is a variable. So this variable reference to this list object, is it? And if you want to know how many items in this list, you just use the length function. This is a very general function, okay? It can also apply to tuple, okay? And then in this case, you will get 3, is it? And this we already learned, it's an index. So this will get 2, is it? And this. So X -1, is it? Like I said, this means it's the last item. Last item. So it's going to be what? In this case, it's going to be that list 1, 2, 3. Is it? If we write X -2, what you will get? You will get the string 2. Okay. So it's the second last. So you can see in Python, it's quite flexible, is it? And also over here, we try to do slicing, is it? We slicing from the first and all the way to the end, but it doesn't include the last item. So what here you will get 2 and 2. You won't get the list, okay? So that's what the slicing, the ending index, it's not included. And also over here, it just shows you can do reassignment, is it? You can update. And in tuple, this won't work, okay? But with list, you can do this. And over here, it just show you can also use a slice to do append, okay? So in this case, it said, okay, I'm going to start at the last item. I didn't specify the ending index. Then I assign all of those to ABC, is it? So that means you're going to have, so this is your original list, is it? And our, so this is the original X, is it? So now you're going to add that A, B, and C. Is it? So you expand it, is it? So you can also use a slice assignment to do this. And for this one, what it shows is you can also insert at the beginning, is it? Add more item at the beginning, is it? Then the ending index will be 0, okay? You can also do removing with slicing. So you just assign an empty list, okay. And the next is shows append. Append is to add a single item, okay. And be careful, it's at the back, okay, at the back. And extend is to add a number of items. It's to add a list, okay. So let's just pay attention to this subtle difference, okay. And also insert. And insert, then you need to specify where you're going to insert this new item. Okay, you can also do delete. Okay, with delete, here is a delete is a general method. Okay, just like length is a general method. Okay, and you can remove single item. Okay, or multiple item. In this case, it's using slicing. This using indexing, using slicing, etc. To do delete. And what next one, next part try to show is, next part try to show us is you can also sort a list. Okay, so this is to sort, just call list sort method. And by default over here, it says if you just call sort, by default it's sorting lexicography. So for all of the strings, by default, it's lexicography, okay? And a lot of time, you see, even like you use internet, use some apps, is it? When you do sorting, it's not always by default, is it? And you can sort by some other rules, is it? So in this case, suppose we don't want to sort by the default lexicography. We want to sort by the length of a word. Is it? We want to sort by length. Then over here, we define this function. So this function has a single parameter. Is it? What it does is just return the length of the string. Is it? Then how do we do that? How do we sort by the way that the approach that you want to sort, the rule, is it? Then in this case, you call the sort, is it? But you specify what the sorting rule is. Is it basically over here, it's a function, is it a Python function that you define? So over here it says, okay, I want to sort by the number of the letters in a word, is it? Yeah, so this is, you can also specify how to do the sort, is it? And you can also sort in descending order. Okay, if you want to do that, then you just set this specific flag. We call it reverse, is it? You set this flag to true, then it will sort in reverse order, okay? So this is regarding sort method. And also be careful here is, for this sort method, is it? So it's data from that word list, is it? So this is a member function of list class, is it? So this is a sort. And we also have a general sort. It's called sorted. So it doesn't belong to any specific class, is it? And then you can pass in some list, is it, in this case? And it returns what? It returns a sorted list, okay, for a group of items. So it will return a list, okay? So be careful, this returns a sorted list. So just be careful here, okay? So, and also this is general, not like this is data sort, okay? It belongs to the list, is it? And for this sorted, then you need to pass in the whatever the list you want to sort as the argument. And the next one is we can also check the membership using this in or not in. Okay, so that you can also find out if certain item is contained with this specific list, in or not in. Okay, so this is just some minor things to find the items. And for the list, is that we said you can expand the list. We have that function expand, is it? And you can also do list concatenation just with the plus operator. We can also do that. Okay, and then in this case, the Y is a list, is it? Z1 is also a list. So if you do plus, then Z2 will be Y expanded with Z1, is it? So another list, okay? So you can also use plus operator. So in Python, plus operator is not just for addition, okay? It can also used for concatenation, okay? So over here, it's for list concatenation. And you can also do list repetition. So it's just repeat the specific list. So suppose Y is it 3 times. So basically you extend the original list by 3 times. And to find the maximum and minimum item within a list, there is also a function called maximum or minimum, okay? So those parts are straightforward. And the last couple of things is you can also find some item with positional index, is it? So over here, what it means is you want to find at index 7, is it? And the item, is it? So you can call the index of, and append we already learned. You can also count, is it? So over here, try to show, okay, how many times this specified items appears in the list. Okay, so I think that's all what we covered yesterday, and I missed to do the recording.